Hi, happy Wednesday. So here we are for our Wednesday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live question and answer that we do every Wednesday live on our Spectra Baby USA Facebook page and live on Instagram. So again, happy Wednesday. Thank you for joining us today. And today we are going to be talking about what happens when you are sick and you are breastfeeding. And it's a really important topic because a lot of moms are faced with this, right? Let's face it, we are in the midst of flu season. And especially with natural disasters that are occurring within our nation, that alone, that stress can lower our immune system and make us more susceptible to sickness and illness. And for those of us that have little ones in school and or daycare, childcare, they're exposed to a lot of different sicknesses and illnesses. So this is a reality for all of us as mothers and as individuals and families. So it's really, really important that we address this topic because it impacts so many of us. So today we're going to be talking about what happens when you're sick and breastfeeding. And of course, pumping is breastfeeding, right? So pumping mommies, don't feel excluded in this discussion because this impacts you too. You're providing your precious breast milk to your little ones. So we are talking about those of us that are lactating and breastfeeding and pumping and providing it to our little ones, and when we are sick or exposed to illnesses. So this topic is tied to our blog post. So we do have a live blog that is on our Spectra Baby USA page right now. It is linked here live on our Facebook page, and you can have that link at your disposal that you can reference after this live question and answer. And those of you on Instagram, please feel free to head over to spectrababyusa.com and make sure that you click on blog, and you'll see right there what happens when I'm sick and breastfeeding. So let's kind of take a step back. Before we actually feel really cruddy, right? Before we're experiencing the symptoms of an illness, we were actually exposed before the symptoms start to exhibit. So when we keep that in mind, and a lot of moms think, oh my gosh, I'm feeling really cruddy, I'm running a fever, I'm sick, I can't possibly be having my baby at breast, or I can't possibly be pumping and providing my milk to baby. Well, hold on a second. Think about this. Before you started showing those symptoms of illness, baby was already exposed. Your body was already producing these amazing antibodies in the breast milk that was being provided to baby before you started exhibiting your symptoms. So what that means is that of course you should continue to breastfeed. Absolutely. The short answer is yes. Continue to breastfeed. Continue to provide your breast milk to your little angel. It's important because your body is so amazing and your breast milk is so amazing that it responds to the illness that you're exposed to, that you've been exposed to. And those antibodies are really, really important to be passed on to baby. Because let's think about it, that if baby stops breastfeeding during that time, they're not getting those precious antibodies that they need, because that's going to help with their immune system, their development, their growth, the bonding with you as a mom. So it is really, really important that when we're talking about, is it safe for me to be breastfeeding when I am sick, it is important to remember that in the vast majority of cases, there are very rare situations by which that you cannot be breastfeeding while you're sick. Now, within the blog article, you'll be able to see that we did indicate 2 different conditions that are what's called contraindicated, which means that it's not recommended to be breastfeeding when you have those conditions. So those 2 conditions that we've identified would be if you are HIV positive or if you have what's called lymphoma. And those 2 conditions are considered contraindicated. Now, again, those are very rare. And so the chances of that being as part of a run-of-the-mill sickness or flu is very small. Now, if there are other conditions that you are concerned about, because there are some conditions that are within various variables, feel free to reach out to our certified IBCLC Facebook page or direct message on Instagram, and you can speak directly with one of us lactation consultants, IBCLCs on staff. And another option would be is what's called the Infant Risk Center. So the Infant Risk Center is located in Texas. And their entire purpose and life work is to see how medications and conditions impact breastfeeding and pregnant mothers. So that is a fantastic and free resource. So I highly, highly encourage you that if medications are involved and are needed, are prescribed during your time of sickness and illness, that what you do is you can reach out to us with the IBCLCs on staff, right? Reach out to your healthcare provider, and also Infant Risk Center. All they do is specialize in that. So there are pharmacists, doctors, lactation consultants, graduate students that are there on staff, and all they do is research the most evidence-based information on what conditions and medications impact breastfeeding mothers. And of course, that includes pumping moms, because that pumping is breastfeeding. Let's keep that in mind. And also pregnant mothers. So another element that comes in play that affects me personally and probably a lot of our moms is, what if I'm pregnant and sick and breastfeeding? Okay, so now those 2 factors, some of the medications that might be safe while breastfeeding may not be safe when you're pregnant and breastfeeding, because that adds a whole separate element, does it not? Okay, so whenever you are taking a medication and you are breastfeeding, there are various circumstances that as to why it is recommended or not recommended. So they're ranked from L1 being the safest, and then it goes all the way up where it's saying this is not safe. That's what's called contraindicated, don't take it. And the same thing within pregnancy, right? There are categories of medications that say, yes, you can take this when you're pregnant, or no, it's not safe to take. So there's combining factors there. And again, that's where reaching out to an amazing free resource like that infantrisk.com, that Infant Risk Center, that you can call their hotline, go to their website, and reach out to them, because then they can investigate and recommend and tell you the ratings of those medications that are involved. But overall, it is so important to continue to provide your breast milk to baby, even when your symptoms start to exhibit, because again, like we were talking about, even before you were exhibiting those symptoms, baby and you were already exposed to that illness and that sickness. So it's important to continue to provide those antibodies to baby. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that just like, even if you were not breastfeeding, you've got to take care of yourself. You've got to take care of mommy, right? Think about when you're on a plane and they always say, put the air mask on the adult first and then the child. Why? because if you don't take care of yourself or you don't put that air mask on you, you're not able to take care of the little one. So you've got to make sure that you're getting enough rest, that you're getting enough fluids, that you're taking care of yourself, because when you're sick, your body is already under a lot of stress. And breastfeeding burns a lot of calories, right? And that does drain us as mommies. So we need to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves at that same time as well. Okay, so let's go to some of these questions that has been coming up. Diana on Facebook says, is it okay to give pumped milk from when a baby is about 1 month old when they are 4 months old? So this would be a little bit off topic from the breastfeeding when sick, but that's okay. We always welcome questions and comments during this time. So Diana, absolutely. Absolutely. So again, our milk changes from one feeding to another. It changes depending on baby's growth and development and the nutritional needs that they have. But it is also absolutely possible and okay and wonderful to provide breast milk that was pumped at a different age and stage than they are now. So absolutely, Diana, just provide that precious mommy milk to that 4-month-old, and congratulations. Let's go to Instagram here. And we had a question earlier that says, how can I know that my milk is enough for my baby, or how much milk that she needs? So thank you for that question on Instagram. And that's a great question. And we had a topic very recently, and I believe that was last week, that says, how do I know that I'm producing enough or making enough milk for baby? So I would encourage you to go to our blog on spectorbabyusa.com, click our blog, and check out that article that we had with wonderful links and information in there. But one way to know is if you are nursing at breast, how is baby after nursing? Does baby seem content? Is baby happy? Does baby get that milk drunk effect, right? Where they just seem so wonderful and satisfied, like they are just absolutely in bliss mode. That's one way. How do your breasts feel before you nurse and or pump? How do they feel before you pump or nurse, and how do they feel after? Does it feel less full? Are you able to yield a decent amount when you're pumping, or does baby seem satisfied at breast? How are those diapers? Is baby having enough wet and dirty diapers? Those are some really good indicators. And I would highly encourage you that you can reach out to us, direct message us on Instagram, and let's talk about your specific baby and you specifically as to whether you are part-time pumping and nursing, or exclusive pumping, or just, exclusively breastfeeding right now, because all of those elements are unique, and we need to look at what specifically is going to be best for you and for baby, so that we can not just look at a cookie cutter answer, but what's going to work well for you and your situation and baby. So thank you for that question. Let's see here. Let's jump back over to Facebook. It looks like that you are welcome, Diana. Absolutely. We are here to help. So what other questions or concerns do you guys have? Comment, don't be shy. So let me show you one resource here. We talked about, there is a author and an individual called Dr. Thomas Hale. Now, his entire life's work has been how medications impact breastfeeding and pregnant mothers. Now, he is the pioneer behind that Infant Risk Center that we talked about. Now, we are no way sponsored or affiliated. It's just one of those most credible evidence-based resources out there that lactation consultants and healthcare providers that they utilize for how we know if medications and or illnesses and conditions are safe during breastfeeding and or pregnancy. So that's where, if you were to reach out to us as lactation consultants with Spector Baby USA or Contact Infant Risk, they're going to be consulting this resource. Now, for those moms that love apps, there is a app called Mommy Meds, and that's on Android and Apple, and that app is tied to the Infant Risk Center. So you can find their hotline number on there. You can look up over-the-counter medications, prescription medications, articles on illnesses and conditions. So there's amazing resources out there at your fingertips that are available. Okay, so Erin on Instagram says, I just got put on an antibiotic for a sinus infection. Oh, I'm so sorry. That's painful. Ouch. From the doctor. Said baby 7 months, may get thrush from that. Could feeding her yogurt help avoid that? Okay, so it is a common concern that when mom is on an antibiotic for an extended period of time, that she is more susceptible to getting yeast infections. Now, I know that's an uncomfortable situation and topic there, but that is what is the contributing, it's called candidus, and that's a contributing factor to thrush. So taking a probiotic can be very, very helpful when you are taking an antibiotic, okay? So yes, if baby is already on solid foods and the pediatrician is comfortable with baby receiving yogurt, then that could potentially help, especially if it is a yogurt that contains live cultures. Those live cultures, on the same respect, are what is within a probiotic. So it is important to consult your healthcare provider to make sure that is something that they would recommend to provide to your little one, because we certainly are not your healthcare provider, and we want to make sure that it is something that's safe for your situation and your condition. But Erin, I hope you feel better and continue to provide your precious Milky to your baby, and you're doing an awesome job. So keep it up, and thank you for the question. So we have another question that says, how long do I have to wait to breastfeed after having a glass of wine? Do I need to pump and dump before I breastfeed again? Now that's a great question, and we do have an archived question and answer, live question and answer on our Facebook page under the video section that we talked about alcohol and breastfeeding. It is not recommended to pump and dump. It is a very common belief out there that once you have a drink of alcohol, a beer, wine, etc., that you need to pump and dump. But it is not necessary. There are some studies that have indicated that pumping actually can increase the alcohol content in your blood during that process because of all the hormones that are involved within lactation. But the safest way to think of it is if it's safe enough for you to be taking care of your little one, if baby was born at full term and is healthy developmentally, then it is okay for you to be nursing and breastfeeding. Now there are guidelines outside of that, and we have a wonderful infographic that if you want to direct message us, we'll provide that to you because it has some wonderful specifics in there. And so I would encourage you to please do that. But just think of it this way. If baby was born full term, there's no other health conditions to be concerned about. So enjoy that glass of wine. And when you feel comfortable enough that you'd be able to drive a car and take care of baby, it's fine to be nursing. And of course, there's other elements to that. So please feel free to direct message us for that infographic on Instagram. And then on Facebook, we'll make sure, since we touch base on this topic, that we'll make sure to also put it within the live video stream as well. Are antibiotics, Crystal asks, are antibiotics known to reduce milk supply? I've noticed a decrease in my milk output since being sick with strep throat and being on antibiotics. Ouch. I am so sorry, Crystal. I had strep throat about a couple weeks back, and it is not comfortable, so I am so sorry. I hope you feel better. Keep up those fluids. So I say keep up those fluids for your own health. Studies do not indicate that fluid intake, unless you are dramatically dehydrated, would impact supply. But depending on any type of medication that can dry out your sinuses can potentially impact your milk supply. Now, with that being said, a lot of times it is more so the depletion of your immune system and the stress that your body is under that causes, and it causes a reduction in your letdowns, which can impact the amount of breast milk that you're able to pump. Now, a lot of times, just like during times of menses, moms will notice a decrease in supply. Ultimately, the more stimulation that you are providing at breast, because it's a supply and demand, the more stimulation and removal of milk, the better of an opportunity your body has to jump back to where it was. So it certainly should be a temporary dip that you're experiencing. I would just encourage you to please take care of yourself, get rest, make sure you're hydrated, make sure that you are trying to take care of yourself so that you're able to take care of your little one, and try not to stress out over maybe a minor dip, because it's just a speed bump. Just, just along the journey. It's just a dip in time, and it will resume. So the more, your body is very resilient, and milk supply can be very resilient with continued stimulation and removal. So I hope you feel better, Crystal. Thank you for that question. So let's jump back over to Facebook. Mary asks, flu shots are safe while exclusively breastfeeding, correct? So yes, there are no studies or evidence-based information that indicates that flu shots are not compatible with exclusively breastfeeding. So I would recommend that you would reach out to Infant Risk Center, as they might have any further sort of situations or research that they might have access to. However, there are no studies, articles, concerns raised about having vaccinations while pregnant or breastfeeding. Now, again, always check with your healthcare provider, but the leading resources that are available to us as lactation consultants, such as the Infant Risk Center, Dr. Hale, Dr. Frank Neese, those individuals have done substantial life work and research on that. So there's nothing that shows that to be contraindicated. Okay, so hopefully that is helpful for you. You are so welcome. So we have a question from Mama over on Instagram that says, tips for surviving a tummy bug and breastfeeding. I'm struggling to keep anything down right now. Oh my goodness. Ouchie, ouchie, ouchie. That's always frustrating, right? Because you feel like that your new best friend is the potty. And that's not fun. That's not fun. And it certainly doesn't help anything with having to take care of a little one that's reliant on you. So one thing that I have found to be very helpful personally and professionally for moms that were going through that, there are certain products out there that are used for people that get motion sickness, like on cruises. So I am in no way endorsing a particular brand or product or anything of that nature, but there's things called C-bands, and it uses like a pressure point. It's just like a little bracelet that you would wear, and sometimes that can help with the nausea and the sickness there. Another thing that you could do is reach out to your healthcare provider and see if there's anything that they would recommend. A lot of healthcare providers will say, try to stay on, what is that, brat diet, where it's a very bland foods, broths, crackers, that sort of thing. Oftentimes ginger ale, Sprite, Gatorade, that type of thing is recommended. But try to just rest as much as you can in between the trips to your new temporary best friend, because it's not funny and it's not fun. And, it's absolutely safe to be breastfeeding during this time, Mama, but, it's no fun and it's not easy. So my heart hurts for you, but hopefully you'll feel better very soon. And if you have any specific questions, please feel free to direct message us on Instagram and on Facebook. You're more than welcome to just comment on this live stream, or you can reach out to the Certified IBCLC page, which when you private message there, it connects you directly with IBCLCs on staff, such as myself and other IBCLC. So let's see if there's another questions here. Let's go back over here. So if there are any, let's see, it says, so we have a question on Instagram that says, should I wean myself off pumping? I pump 3 times a day and I'm with my baby all day long and feeding her. I had trouble with supply when she was a few weeks old, but now I'm wondering if I could stop. So congratulations, first of all, amazing job at breastfeeding and pumping and working to increase your supply, because that is work and commitment and dedication. So hats off, amazing, amazing. So you certainly can. Now you probably have an awesome freezer stash that you're probably extremely proud of, and that's awesome. Excuse me, but you know, you want to make sure that when you are weaning from pumping, especially even though it's awesome that you're able to be there all day and be nursing her and feeding her, you want to make sure that you wean yourself off gradually of the additional pumping. So depending on when you're pumping and how long you're pumping, you want to make sure it's a gradual weaning, because whenever you cut something out really short like that, that's where you put yourself at risk for clogged ducts, mastitis, all sorts of situations that are just very uncomfortable and not very conducive. So you want to make sure that it is gradual. So for example, if you're pumping in the morning, you know, starting to gradually decrease that time of the morning pump, and then you can omit that pumping session, or you know, whatever time of day it is. Now, there are some great resources that we can direct you to that provide like step by step. So I would encourage you to direct message us so that we can provide that to you, because there are a lot of different variables in play. And going to a direct resource like that, such as you can direct message us for further step-by-step, but also going to evidence-based information sites as well. Now, of course, when you reach out, we work off of evidence-based information. But a lot of times I know that as mommies, we want to go to something that we can go and read. And that is something that we are working on providing in our blog as well. So stay tuned for that. So, but absolutely, it is possible to stop pumping in addition to nursing. It just needs to be something that is gradually weaned from, because you don't want to cause any sort of disruption within your precious milk makers there. So you just want to be cautious with that. So it needs to be a gradual process. Okay, so that was a great question, and please direct message us on Instagram. If you, since the question was from Instagram, for further guidance or assistance, and we'll be happy to help you with that. So, I love it. A mommy on Instagram says, I just ordered mine yesterday. So awesome. Welcome to the Spectre family, mommy. All right, so on our Facebook thread, we do have some links here for you mommies from the cdc.gov in terms of the recommendations, and then also in reference to that flu shot question from Infant Risk that indicates that the flu shot is completely safe. So yes, absolutely, that's wonderful. So what precautions should you take when you're running a fever and exclusively breastfeeding? So like we were talking about in terms of precautions, baby and you, before the fever even exhibited, were already exposed. And so all of that nasty illness that started to manifest with the symptoms, baby and you were already exposed previous to that. So in terms of precautions, it's important to continue to breastfeed, because it's providing those precious antibodies to baby. And so that protects baby from either not getting ill and or not getting as sick. So Crystal, I would highly encourage you to snuggle with baby, get lots of rest, get lots of fluids, and hydrate yourself for your own health and well-being, and ensure that you guys are both comfortable and still continue to breastfeed, because you want to make sure that you're keeping your own health and body healthy and supported during this time, because sickness is never a fun time. It can be very draining and stressful. So in terms of precautions, I know a lot of people think that when they're sick, they should not be pumping and providing that milk to baby or breastfeeding. But it's the complete opposite. Baby and you have already been exposed to that before symptoms started to exhibit. And so it is really, really important that you continue to breastfeed, you continue to hold and snuggle baby, and that you continue to remove and produce the milk and provide that to your little one. So do supplements and do certain supplements work, and are they safe? So Sandra, we don't want to necessarily endorse a particular brand or product. So, Sandra's question is in reference to what are called galactagogues, which are supplements and medications that are thought to increase your breast milk. Now, there's a lot of those companies and products out there, and a lot of moms think that they need to take them to be pumping and breastfeeding. And the reality is that they're not always needed. And in very rare cases, when mothers really, really do have a low milk supply and something like that is medically needed, that's a situation that she needs to be working with her healthcare provider and an IBCLC, a lactation consultant, to discuss. And why that's the case is because a lot of these supplements, when you're asking if they're safe, a lot of these supplements might be what's called contraindicated, meaning not recommended if you have certain conditions. So for example, a lot of these supplements that are out there have fenugreek or other products in them that you should not be taking if you have a blood disorder or a heart condition or blood pressure concerns or others. There's a whole wide range of health conditions that you should not be taking these supplements if you have. So I highly, highly caution mommies from just jumping on this bandwagon and thinking that they need to take these supplements to be breastfeeding and pumping, because what that often does is puts that seed of doubt in your mind that you're not doing enough, that you're not good enough, that you're not producing enough, that, and it's important to really take a step back and look at kind of the facts and the black and white of it. Like, is baby content at breast? Is your pumping yield within that normal range? Because we know that, 2 ounces combined sides is that normal output range. And anything over than that is awesome. But, filling a 5 to 8 ounce bottle is not necessary, is beyond, the place that it needs to be at in terms of a pumping session. So, are there situations where these supplements and prescription medications that can be used are helpful? Absolutely. I think that, especially as a lactation consultant and looking at the evidence-based research and situations that I've worked with mothers and families and clients that really did medically need supplements and or prescription medications, they were the lifesaver in that situation. But again, it's important to really look at all of the pieces to the puzzle. It's really important to look at all of the different elements and situations, how frequently baby is at breast, how, is there frequent and consistent breast milk removal, what is the milk production at, how is baby at breast, medical conditions. There are so many different elements to this. So I'd highly, highly encourage you to, reach out to a lactation consultant. You can do that by direct message here on Instagram, since that's where your question is from, Sandra. And also you talk to your healthcare provider, talk to, it's really important because they would know your medical history. And then again, the Infant Risk Center is a good option as well, because they would be able to know, okay, based on, they would be able to ask all those questions as well. But it's important that we can't just give a cookie cutter answer to that question, because you really have to look at all of the different elements, all of those pieces to the puzzle, to that equation, to answer that. So hopefully that was helpful, Sandra, but please know that you can reach out to us for further questions or concerns. But that was a great, great question, because it impacts a lot of us mommies, right? Because when we start to get pregnant thinking about breastfeeding, or when we're pumping and breastfeeding, we are bombarded by all these pictures all over social media of this cookie and this bar and this supplement and this and that. And so we start to think, oh my goodness, do these work? Do I need to be taking this? Am I wrong for not taking it? And the same thing goes with all these funky little recipes that you start seeing all over. I've seen on Pinterest all these different things. So, it's a great question to ask, because it really does impact a lot of us. And so I appreciate you asking that. So we have some wonderful tips and links here on our Facebook Live post, and we will have the video, this live question and answer video, available on our story for 24 hours, as Instagram works there. So we'll have it on Instagram, and then we'll also have it saved on our Facebook, Spectra Baby USA Facebook page. And as always, we love having our mommies and families join us. We love all the questions and comments and the hearts and the thumbs up and all that. It's wonderful. We are here to support you. We are. That's why we're in this. So it is really, really important to have you here. So we welcome you joining us every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live on Facebook and live on Instagram. We love having that interaction there. And we always will provide whatever information and links that are possible to provide to you that are evidence-based information. And that's really, really important, because there is a lot of information out there on that wonderful World Wide Web that we have and social media, right? But not all of it is evidence-based information. And that's what's important to keep in mind, because we really need to go based off of what information is factual and not just, and what's called anecdotal, basically, right? Some story that was made up or a myth that was passed down from generation to generation. It's important to look at the facts, what is tried and true. And so that's what information that we're here to help provide you and guide. So thank you for joining us today. It was a pleasure being with you all. Don't forget to head over to our blog on spectrababyusa.com. We have on our blog, we have the blog article that's linked to today's topic of what happens when I'm sick and breastfeeding. We also have other amazing blog articles and posts there that can be extremely helpful along your pumping and breastfeeding journey, and even our pregnant mommies that are getting ready to have their little precious little angels there. It's really important to have support and resources, and we are here to support and help you. So we have, lots of different help and information here for you. So thank you again for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you next Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You guys have a great day, and thank you again for joining us.